Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the Choice Solutions webinar today. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to kick things over to Dana Steinlogge with Choice Solutions.
Hey, good morning, good day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dana Steinlogge, Choice Solutions, one of the partners and co-leaders of our sales team and sales organization. Just on behalf of our team, just thank you for taking time to join us. Very excited about the information we're going to share. It's a healthcare focused session, just on a number of different areas that we've had the opportunity to help healthcare leaders to kind of provide that secure patient care experience, but also kind of play a role in simplifying your IT environment. So, but for those of you who aren't familiar with us, I'm just going to take just a couple minutes to share about our team, share about our company, and we'll kind of go into some of those great speakers we have sharing today. So biggest thing I could share and best thing I could share is just right here, this slide. It's our people, it's our team. We've got a fantastic team, quality people, the just genuine, fantastic expertise to kind of get involved and help partner with you in solving challenges and helping with solutions that you're looking for. Our company, our team, we've had the opportunity to grow and serve all across the U.S. However, our main presence of people is in the central part of the U.S. as well as down in the southeast. From a healthcare perspective, just want to share just a few customers and clients that we've had the opportunity to assist. It kind of ranges. We've got and some of you are on this call. Thank you. We appreciate you greatly. But it might be a rural community hospital to a healthcare clinic within a larger metro, to an enterprise hospital, and some variation in between from a healthcare environment that we've had the opportunity to be a partner and work alongside you. So just a little bit about us and the main things that we're interested in helping challenges you might be facing or problems you're looking to solve. In healthcare, more so than probably almost any vertical, the need for ability to provide a consistent workspace solution for those care providers, your clinicians, your physicians that might be going from room to room, from location to location, just the need for them to have a consistent, high-performing workspace to get access to the applications they need to provide the care to your patients. All the while, as a business, as an organization, as a healthcare business leader, you got to make sure it's secure. You got just making sure you have proper controls with all the compliance and other security threats that you're facing. All the while, just everyone, including healthcare, some level of the cloud transformation, looking from a transition and a shift from traditional environments, traditional ways of doing things, into kind of what's the newest way, how to get to more of a consumption-based approach to IT services. What kind of things to do to minimize and simplify your infrastructure so you can focus just on the apps, whether that's adoption of SaaS applications or whether that's simplified IT infrastructures that might be able to support those mission-critical applications you need for your environment. Also in healthcare, everyone's just the constraints you face, whether it be with being able to find the right talent, as well as develop them and retain them. Also just, challenges with being able to have the right in-house expertise, or, financially being able to keep the level of expertise you might feel like you need for your environment, as well as just obviously operating on new projects, executing new projects, and keeping up with day-to-day upkeep. And we found that more and more feedback from customers is a lack of strong IT partners maybe to work with. There's plenty of companies to work with that you can go and buy and transact with and go buy something and procure it. But you need, and you're looking for partners, companies that have the resources, the expertise, maybe the consultative approach to be able to come in, truly learn about your business, your healthcare practice, understand what you're trying to do, understand the challenges you're facing, and being able to bring forward innovative solutions and services that might help you solve those and address those for your organization, all the while working with people, genuine people that have the expertise and the focus to help you out, not only for a project, but as a long-term partner, just like you might have for several other aspects of your practice. So our company, our team, we can obviously help you out with technology acquisition. So acquiring those data center, that software, those cloud services, that right mix you might be looking for. But more so, we've got the ability to engage and help you out with projects. If you got a new rollout of a updated EMR or a new EMR switch, the ability to come in and help you plan, create a design, work with those app partners, and create a solid plan to help your organization successfully move in that direction and adopt that. So project services for a variety of things, but also for organizations that might be struggling with the day-to-day ongoing upkeep. We've got a fantastic team that can come in and meet you where you are and complement your organization from ongoing IT services to help you with the upkeep, help you with security, help you with backups, a number of things to help your staff out. And we can even, for some organizations, we can also have a great platform to be able to host those environments for them as well. So that's a little bit on what we do and how we kind of go about. Some of the technology partners that we work with heavily include Citrix and Nutanix. Those are two that we invited specifically to be a part of this webinar today in this session. We believe they're very kind of like a common core, like a very common component of many of the successful healthcare environments we've had the opportunity to be a partner with. So we're going to have invited them to share a little bit. But additionally, we work a lot with Microsoft and obviously what they're doing, with the M365 and the Office productivity and Azure Cloud, Azure MFA, a number of those things. Palo Alto Networks, a fantastic network and cybersecurity partnership that we work with. iGel from a secure endpoint to be able to get access into that secure virtual desktop or virtual application that you might be delivering out to your patient care providers. And then RingCentral from a enterprise voice perspective across multiple facilities. So we're going to focus again today on Citrix and Nutanix, just have them share a little bit from a high level on where they're adding value, bringing value, the challenges they're seeing in healthcare. We've invited in a couple of specialists to share with us. Additionally, we're very excited to have an IT leader, IT director that we've had the opportunity to partner with for a number of years, Steve Elgin with One World Community Health, that will be sharing after Nutanix and Citrix kind of go through some information. And we've also got Scott Osborne from our team. He's one of the lead architects on our team and been involved with several successful healthcare projects, and just kind of share just on One World's environment, but also maybe add some color to some other projects and things that he's been a part of. So thank you guys again for joining us. I'm going to turn it over now and introduce you to TJ with Nutanix to share briefly with you on Nutanix.
Yeah, thanks, Dana, and thanks Choice and Citrix for helping us host this event today. Thanks to all the attendees for joining. It's great to spend time with you guys and introduce myself. Just a little bit about myself. My name is TJ Boda. I live in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm a account manager within Nutanix's healthcare vertical, covering Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, and both Dakotas. I've been with Nutanix for about 3 years, 2 of which were dedicated into this healthcare segment. But really what I want to talk about today is about 3 years ago, we stood up a dedicated healthcare business within Nutanix. And really the goal is just to kind of spend some time talking about what it is that we do and where we've been during that time. So in terms of a quick agenda, I want to start with just some customer adoption and kind of who we've been working with, what we've been up to during that time. I'll dive a little bit into what it is that Nutanix does and why we exist. I'll probably keep that at a little bit of a high level. And then we'll move into just our commitment to healthcare and really what that means for us and how we're helping customers. So in 3 years since we started this business, we've been able to work with over 1,500 healthcare systems across the U.S., put some kind of recognizable names together on a slide here. I really wanted to just start with this slide just to kind of show what it is that we're really doing here, right? I mean, this isn't some small vertical that we're going after. Nutanix has made a big investment. We're in this for the long haul. We've formed partnerships that we want to really see through. whether it's EMRs, PACS, enterprise applications, VDI, remote offices. There are just so many different use cases and references of what we're doing throughout this industry that I really wanted just the takeaway from this slide to start just to be, listen, we're present in your area. We're probably working with a facility that's very similar to you, whether you're a big health system like you see on the slide here today, or a regional provider, a critical access, or even a federally qualified health system like Steve and One World that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So what we do, covering all that we do in this webinar, I'd probably take up the entire time, so I'll keep this really high level. But just to kind of lay some foundation, Nutanix was founded in 2009. We were kind of born into this cloud era, which gave us the ability to build our stack without any of the kind of legacy constructs. Two of the three original founders of Nutanix actually were part of the PhD team that wrote the file system for Google, their public cloud. And really the intent of Nutanix, why we came to market, was to bring that technology that was developed for these big web scale public clouds into our local on-prem data centers. Now, some of us may have a cloud strategy, some of us may be totally against it and don't want to ever go into cloud. But at the end of the day, public cloud really changed the way that we look at infrastructure. It changed the way we look at compute, changed the way we look at storage, and even changed the way that we look at networking. And it's not whether you're big or small, it's really about making sure that your systems are smarter, that your infrastructure becomes more invisible. The days of judging IT performance based on keeping the lights on are really behind us. Today, we need to be contributing to the business and keeping up with that pace. So I won't go into too much detail here, but obviously public cloud was frictionless, right? We're able to consume according to our schedule. We pay for what we use when we use it. We can spin up servers, within minutes. One-click simplicity really means we're not doing any of the low-level firmware management. We're not upgrading the hypervisor. All that stuff is really done for us. Conversely, the on-prem infrastructure gives us a lot better control. Owning is always going to be cheaper than renting, right? It gives us more control over cost. And frankly, it gives us more control over choice of what we want our infrastructure to look like, how we want it to run, and how we want our apps to perform. The entire intent of Nutanix is really to give you the best of both worlds, right? We want to enable that true hybrid cloud connecting both of these scenarios. We do that with Hyperconverged Infrastructure, or HCI. We really invented this. We were the pioneers that brought HCI to market. Most of you today probably have a solution that you would see on the left here, which is really virtualization sitting on top of servers, connected through a storage interconnect to a SAN. With Nutanix, we get rid of that architecture. We totally kind of revamp it, and we look at just basically commodity servers stitched together with our software to become a node in a cluster. Each node runs our Acropolis operating system, which really comes in the form of what we call a controller VM. That controller VM is really nothing more than a virtualized storage controller with a bunch of management features and IP built into it. But that is the core IP. The core IP is being able to get rid of that SAN, which is scale up, and provide true scale out storage. And we do that again without any of those legacy constructs. What I'm talking about there is RAID, fiber interconnects, FPGAs, accelerator cards. With Nutanix, we're really just commodity hardware with our software sitting on top. By eliminating that SAN, then we're eliminating storage silos. We're simplifying storage management. The whole idea of RAID groups, disk groups, LUNs, that all goes out the window with Nutanix, and we get that true scale out system really connected just via standard Ethernet cables. Once deployed, then more goodness ensues in that you really have plug and play expansion and refreshes. The idea of a forklift upgrade goes out the window. Obviously, I'd like to spend a lot more time. Nutanix does a lot more than just kind of the core HCI, from file services and secure infrastructure. We'll have to obviously spend some more time on that on a later date. But I also want to talk just about our commitment into healthcare. When we started this business, we set out to take a look at all the different applications that exist within the healthcare industry And then we wanted to look at how do we make those run better? How do we manage those better? How do we make the life cycle of those applications better? Then we built a team. So I'm part of the a dedicated healthcare and marketing team. We're here because we only work with healthcare customers. We understand healthcare. We set out a dedicated engineering and solutions organization. Their job is to make sure that our products and solutions are designed to meet the needs and requirements within healthcare. They do end-to-end validation of all the healthcare applications and make sure that they run best on Nutanix. We also formed an alliances team, which basically is in charge of creating this ecosystem of partners. I'm actually going to talk about that in my next slide, that's really critical. And lastly, we actually went as far as to create a specific support and escalation process we call Code Blue, just for our healthcare customers, in that we understand that in some cases this isn't just mission critical applications; these can be life critical. So, the alliance team, as I mentioned, is really critical to our commitment within healthcare. We work with all the leading EMR and PACS vendors out there. We have industry alliances. Citrix, obviously, a huge and critical partner to Nutanix, has been really since the beginning of our existence. We work with all the hardware vendors so that you have choice of where you want to deploy our stack. Then we work with all of the secondary storage databases. There's far too many logos to try to put on one slide. Don't get caught up on that, please, and then I'm sure we've got you covered there as well. From an integrator standpoint, within healthcare, we work with people like CloudWave and Engage, who are specific to implementing Meditech and Epic. And then we've been really fortunate just to work with partners like Choice and our other channel partners. Choice, I'll give a great plug, and Dana said much of it, but Choice is just an excellent partner from having really trusted consultants. They've got a strong engineering bench, and they just bring a lot of value in bringing us a lot closer to our customers. So we've worked tremendously hard to really support the vast majority of healthcare systems, and it's only through our entire portfolio that we're able to support those workloads really from top to bottom. I won't go into all of these. We don't have time for that, unfortunately, but just to make sure that we talk about, we've got point of care covered, obviously Citrix being a big partner there in bringing the technology to the patient, whether it's your clinical apps and reporting, imaging and PACS, and then of course all the integrations and tools needed to make everything work together. This alliances team spends day and night working with all of these vendors to make sure that we're certified, that they're supporting their products running on Nutanix, and we've really made a lot of progress in the last 3 years. This is my last slide, guys. I hope I'm doing okay on time, but what I really wanted to highlight here is that we also understand that healthcare doesn't just rely on healthcare applications. You guys have many of the same requirements as other industries, and we excel in those categories as well. Nutanix is the platform of choice for half of the global 2,000 companies across the world. I won't go into each one of these use cases, but again, I just wanted to highlight kind of the magnitude of use cases that we work on day to day. So with that, Dana, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I'll give it back to you.
DJ, thank you. Appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, Nutanix has been a great platform, especially in healthcare, with challenges, desires to kind of, you want to move to the cloud, but maybe there's reasons with mission critical care and other reasons why it might make sense to keep those apps on-prem. Nutanix takes a lot of that focus away from infrastructure and allows you to focus on the applications, greatly simplifying that platform to support your core applications. So we can't say enough good things there. I'd like to introduce you to Christian with Citrix. So we got talked about the platform, but now let's talk about a very important need, and that's how to access those mission critical applications you have. And Christian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dana, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and your customers today. So as we start, my name is Christian Boucher, Chief Healthcare Strategist out of the Office of the CTO for Citrix. Names there, titles there, all that good stuff. But my role at Citrix started about 6 years ago, where I was hired as the subject matter expert for healthcare. Before joining Citrix, I worked in a healthcare organization back in New England, where I started out as an architect and building out their first Citrix environment, and then moved into leadership, where I focused on solutions, so engaging with clinical leaders across the table to understand deliverables and build out solutions with my teams to meet those goals. So whether it's standing up new practices like oncology or cardiology, or just trying to figure out ways to allow newer technologies to be brought into clinical areas. My focus was always trying to start with the customer first, the end user first, and work our way back to our stack, which, you know, fortunately for me, I had a great partner at Citrix, just like the choices here. So being able to leverage partners is a great ability for organizations, and choosing someone like Choice, you're in the right park for having someone who really understands not only Citrix and Nutanix, but how healthcare needs to operate and the priorities there. My goal at Citrix is really it's multifaceted. I work with products, I work with our ISV team who engages with I actually took a slide out that had all the same partners that Nutanix on. So thanks, TJ, I was able to cut my slide deck down by one. But understanding how organizations need to leverage technologies to improve patient care. And we focused on that in my tenure here, and engaging with partners and understanding how companies like, you know, Epic and Cerner leverage our technologies to deliver those solutions, and also beyond that, how organizations continue to add to their portfolio into Citrix to optimize some of these three topics. So accelerating modernization, what does that mean? How are we adapting to new technologies within organizations, especially ones that may not be maybe legacy in nature? So how do we take older applications that were not meant for modern IT technologies and port them over to newer interactions? That's one big piece. Understanding that, you know, consumer expectation has changed, and, you know, if I can pick up my iPhone and download an app in 2 seconds, I should be able to do the same within my work life. So how do we help, you know, connect the dots between what the consumers expect and what IT can deliver? And we work every day to do those things. Also, you know, we've seen a big pickup in remote work, but overall, I think our focus has been, you know, allowing users to interact with your enterprise solutions, regardless of the device, regardless of the network, regardless of any of those security needs, as we build those security functionalities into everything that we do. So if it's, you know, standing up a new practice or acquiring a new practice at via merger and acquisition, if you have to pivot like we had to in the last 2 years into a more of a work from home scenario, giving you the ability to do all those things seamlessly without having to really look at other technologies to deliver those solutions. And lastly, some of the things that we've been working on more in the last few years is worker productivity. So building analytics and some machine learning into our solutions to help automate and guide work, whether it be how your interactions impact the way you work. So if I, you know, utilize certain technologies first thing in the morning, how can we help automate that so those things start up automatically? How do we look at ways to improve overall workflows to make everyone's life easier? And then same thing on the back end to the administration, being able to deliver, you know, clear insights from all the interactions, whether it's from the end user device all the way through the network back into your data center. So if something is happening, you know well in advance that something it may be awry in one of your systems. At Citrix, we believe that, you know, success will be for organizations will be ones that be able to pivot and be able to deliver a consistent unified experience that is secure across your environments. Work is changing, and, you know, some organizations have adopted more aggressive work from home strategies, even you know, post-pandemic, for various reasons, with cost savings or expanding talent pools. Those challenges for delivering those or moving certain workflows outside of the four walls have been challenging, but organizations that have leveraged Citrix to do those things have been very successful in, you know, allowing users to, again, consume those resources how they need to, when they need to, and pretty much over any network they need to. Both on the security side as well as the performance side. You know, we look at the environment as if a physician walks into your hospital, he accesses a technology a certain way. If he decides to work from home or finish up some paperwork after hours, that experience should be the same. It should be the same, you know, access methodology, it should be the same experience as far as speed and performance goes as well. So we focus on that with all of our tech solutions. Getting back to that, our focus is to really build that complete digital workspace. And it starts by unifying all your work. So all your different applications, all your different files, maybe even virtual desktops, or even moving into, desktop as a service functionalities. Being able to consume those all in one location and not just even containerized within one portal, but actually being able to interconnect to each other within that portal. So that gives us some more of that simplifying of work. Security really has been, if it's not number one, it's number 1B in many conversations with healthcare organizations. And how do we leverage our solutions both from an access methodology to a virtualization methodology to a containerization methodology to help you deliver not only security, but security that works. It's not impacting user experience. It's not extra gates that they have to open to actually access technology. But what's really key is that understanding that as you decide to move to different venues, maybe you're allowing extended work from home, you have very granular control of how those things can happen, whether or not users can print from home or screenshot, all those pieces. We've built that into our technology, so you have very granular control in how you deliver those solutions. And many ask, why Citrix? There's a lot of workspace out there. There's a lot of different technologies that'll do similar things, but they don't do all of the things that we do. And I think that's what really drives the biggest delta between us and our competition is, it's a complete workspace, whether we're talking about access security and app security, all the way into the analytics aspect, which we can look at, user analytics, security analytics, and performance analytics of everything that is connected to your infrastructure that runs through Citrix. So that means your endpoints, your networks, your virtualized applications, your SaaS-based applications, and any other flavor of solution you decide to manage through our Citrix platform. The app delivery, the workspace. So if you want to do desktops or virtualized applications, never mind managing vast organizations. We have some of our organizations like Cerner utilize our product to deploy solutions to their consumers. So we're looking at 500,000-600,000 concurrent users on a Citrix environment. So we can go from very small scale in a managed environment to hyperscale to control access to hundreds of thousands of users in real time. And all these solutions are really designed to solve some of those complex challenges, whether it's, again, how do we improve our mergers and acquisition strategies? How do we leverage the tools we have within Citrix to integrate with our security programs? And moreover, especially if you are not a large organization and looking for ways to offset costs or deliver more value to your security teams, there's a lot of opportunity with things that we deliver, both on the security side and performance side, that can give insights into how your operations are running and how your users are really experiencing your environment. Over the last year, we've kind of been pulling out, and this is actually very specific to healthcare, of course, but we've tried to identify the core priorities for our customers, and I'm sure that you have a few of these in your organization as well. But physician experience has always been a big priority in healthcare, especially in more so with a hybrid workforce. So as physicians had to work from home, or are you experimenting with telehealth and how we can help there? The big push we've been seeing now is this zero trust security aspect, because it touches all these aspects of your organization, whether it's preventing business disruptions from malware or all those crazy hacks we've been seeing over the news the last few years, transforming applications, so being able to modernize those, bring those to platforms that may be better suited for the workflows, and really accelerating those integrations into your mergers and acquisitions. All of these pieces we can help with, and if you want to get into more detail on some of the stories we've worked with our customers on how to develop some of these strategies, please let me know. Your choice team knows how to get a hold of me, and I would be happy to have deeper discussions on all of those. Now, as I transfer back over to Dana, I just want to say thank you, and if you have any questions, please reach out to your choice team, and I'll be happy to jump on a call and discuss. Thank you very much.
Hey, Christian, thank you for sharing. Thank you also for joining and sharing kind of some from the Citrix leadership, the healthcare focus, and things you guys are working on there. So now I'm really excited to introduce to you one of our customers. we've had the opportunity to have a longstanding partnership with. Steve Elgin with One World Community Health. Steve has been adopting both of the technologies that we've shared with today, but also other things. But I think Steve kind of his environment and challenges kind of epitomize maybe a lot of what you face in healthcare as either as an IT leader, as a business leader in healthcare, and things that Steve's been able to do and adopt in his journey to help them be successful. So Steve, thank you for joining and sharing for a few minutes with everybody. And I forgot to mention, if you have questions, make sure to you can send it in the chat, but especially as Steve shares, if there's any questions, please put it in the chat window, and we'll have an opportunity to for Q&A as well. So thank you, Steve, for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Dana, for having me. Hello, everyone. Steve Elgin, I'm the IT director for One World Community Health Centers and Heartland Community Health Network. We're based out of Omaha, Nebraska. I have been here for the last 10 years, and a little bit about the two companies. One World is a federally qualified health center. We have about 560 employees scattered across 16 locations, as well as work from home. And Heartland Community Health Network has about 10 employees, and what Heartland does is hosts the medical record for One World and several other practices in Nebraska, Iowa, and Texas. And so I'm sort of responsible for everything from an IT infrastructure and IT operations perspective, from operating the data center, procurement, help desk, the whole gamut there. And I've been doing that for the last 10 years. And for the most of those 10 years, I've been partnered with Choice Solutions and working with Dana and Ozzy and their team. And so welcome, Ozzy.
Hey, how's it going, man? So,
Good.
I mean, quick introduction of myself, I guess, and then I'll let Steve go into his environment a little bit more. But so I'm a senior solutions architect here for Choice Solutions. For those that don't know me, I co-lead the user group communities around here in the Omaha Metro with Steve. So Steve and myself are not only the kind of the customer VAR relationship, but we're also friends and close in every aspect there. So we co-lead a lot of these things together in the community as well. So we've known each other for quite some time, and I'm really just here for the color commentary and air support for Steve, right?
Yeah.
Pen and teller, I'm the teller, you're the pen, whatever. I don't know, however you want to do it. This is the magic show. Let's rock and roll, right? So
Yeah. So, I'll try to give the viewers sort of some context about where we came from and to help them understand how we got to where we're at today. 10 years ago when I started with One World, we had 4 locations and about 200 staff. And we had received a pretty sizable grant from the federal government to build some new buildings on our main campus. And so we were effectively more than doubling the number of computers that we were supporting from my team. And at the time, there was only 3 of us on staff. We had a little bit of Citrix in our environment at the time. And the medical record that we use is called NextGen. Some of you may be familiar with it. And the decisions that had been made prior to me being employed there, NextGen was deployed on basically every computer, and every computer was a fat client Windows computer. And so anytime we had to do upgrades, it was a real headache because we had to physically go touch every computer and upgrade the application on them. And so I mentioned we had a little bit of Citrix, I think it was a version 4.5, Metaframe 4.5 in the environment, and we had a small subset of our users who had laptops that were using this. And so I had come across the folks at Choice, I think at a technology conference or something like that, and we started talking about like, how can we improve this? How can we make my life easier? Because there's 3 of us and we're going to double the number of computers we have to support. And so we decided to go with Citrix and kind of roll that out, Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops as it's called now, but roll that out to every single device and start moving towards using thin clients in our environments instead of fat clients. And so that really would simplify how we manage them and how we roll out changes and things like that. And so we've been deploying CVAD on-prem ever since. And that's worked out really, really well. I mean, from the days of having like Citrix PBS, and you know, when we needed to do an upgrade, we would just make a change to the one place and it would propagate to all our devices. It was super helpful because it would take us full weekends to go touch every single computer. And not to mention, we also knew that we were going to be expanding sort of at the WAN because we were getting grants to add new locations. And so we added locations in West Omaha, Northwest Omaha, and other parts of town. You know, so we really needed to make this easier and be able to provide a better user experience for our end users, because as you can imagine, if that application is running locally on a PC, but it's got to traverse the WAN to talk to the database or the other components, it's just not going to perform very well. So that's really kind of been the use case and the driver for us for continuing to ramp up our dependence on Citrix in order to provide that better user experience. And so we did a complete overhaul of the entire system and brought the folks from Choice in to help us do that. And so at the time, this was 2012, I think, Ozzy, if my memory serves me correctly, roughly about there. And so we were bringing in SANs, and we were bringing in, you know, compute and we were using legacy hypervisors and that kind of a thing, you know, and that was all the latest, greatest, the best way to do it back then. And we were really happy with it at the time. And so then came along this Nutanix company, you know, and I think it was 2015. I actually went to like a lunch and learn or something, and I've known because I'd been there for enough years now. I'd been there about 5 years. You know, we had sort of grown in an incremental fashion. We get a bucket of money, like a grant or a donation from a third party. And it's like, yeah, I get to add a little capacity to my infrastructure, but really, I mean, it was very expensive to do that because, you know, how do you plan for sizing correctly when you're using the traditional 3-tier architectures that are of the days of yore, you know? And so, I was like, I just knew that there had to be something better. Obviously, cloud was really starting to accelerate, and I liked the simplicity of that. And along came Nutanix, and so I learned about that in 2015. And I was like, okay, we spent 2 years learning about this company, who was a fairly new company at the time, with a really new technology that hardly anybody seemed to be using, at least nobody that I knew. But all the things that TJ talked about with the simplicity and getting rid of SANs and storage controllers and LUNs and all that stuff, man, to take all of that work out of the system so that the IT team doesn't have to focus on that stuff. I mean, that sounded really huge, really promising, you know? And so, you know, keeping in mind, I'm running an entire data center. I've got two different companies that have infrastructure. And so finally in 2017, we were able to buy our first cluster of Nutanix, which was really, really great. And, you know, the things that they promise about simplification, I mean, it's true. It really is. At the time, I was paying my engineers hourly. And so when they did after hours maintenance work for us, they were earning overtime. And after having Nutanix in our environment for a year, they're coming to me griping, like, I'm not getting enough overtime, you know? And it's like, oh, shoot. Well, you know, I didn't really want to like pay you less money. I just wanted to make after hours maintenance easier, you know? And so, you know, if you can imagine what it was like back then when you had SANs and you had hypervisor hosts and firmware for all the hardware and all this stuff that you have to upgrade, and you have to, anytime you had to upgrade, you had to do tons of research and try to make sure that, okay, what dependency am I going to break, or downstream service am I going to break when I do this upgrade? Can I actually do that? Is there a really reasonable path to it? It was just an enormous amount of effort. And now it's like, my kind of running joke is like, you wait till after hours and I just click upgrade and crack a beer. And that's it. You know, it's like, it's all automated, and just took an enormous amount of work out of the IT system, which was great. And I get the benefits of sort of the simplicity of the cloud, but I get to have my data on-prem still, which is where the business needs it, even still today. So Yeah, so I don't know, anything to add to that, Ozzy, in terms of like what you remember or how you've helped us in that regard?
So much, but only so much I can talk to publicly. No, I mean, I just I like to sit here and let Steve run his lines because he always explains the story so well, from the position that he's in, and trying to help his team. And I'll just say, from speaking to One World in general, there's, as a customer, there's some that use technology and then see it for what it's worth and use it and get some benefits out of it. And there's others that really just embrace that technology. And Steve and his team have really embraced everything that Nutanix and Citrix can do together in that area for healthcare, for his team to make things more efficient, to to save costs, the automation side of things. I mean, there's so much we could go into there that just really the two pairing up together, because you always hear the story, they're paired up together, yin and yang, they work out better, but really you don't necessarily see it all the time unless you're with somebody like Steve and his team and what they've done with the technology. And that includes, all the Nutanix features that we use or that I use specifically in every one of my designs, in Citrix, healthcare and whatnot, with like Nutanix files and, things like that, and AHV and, all of these, extra things that you can do on top of it to really, better your system or better your environment, right? You guys have done really embrace that. It's been a long road. Yeah, I think I can't remember what year, like you mentioned, when all this started, but really for Steve, from a Citrix perspective, we've ran the whole gamut, right? So we went through PVS to now Nutanix, and where MCS really shines because of shadow clones on the back end and how it really makes that better, and you can eliminate some of the pieces that maybe were more complex before. Again, simplification there, right? So that's allowed us to simplify the whole environment and really make it better from that perspective too, which again helps his team then do more with less. I can't really speak to the overtime stuff because maybe they aren't getting paid as much, but that was like a side effect they might not like. But for the upgrading after hours and all that stuff, it's true, right? That combo together just works really well. And some of the other environments that I've been working in, Steve's got the EMR that he was discussing, next gen there, but I also do a lot with Epic and some of my other environments, one of the bigger EMRs in that area. And really, I'll say, kind of like what TJ was talking about earlier, I mean, everybody knows what Citrix can do on the healthcare side of things for them. But Citrix and Nutanix has that dedicated healthcare team they were talking about, and I've really, the passion there with them as a partner is just amazing, because I'll just tell you from my side, it's like, and Steve tested that, they're the guys over in Nutanix, for them, and I'm sure it's like that in every vertical, but just, because we're here today speaking of healthcare, they have a dedicated healthcare team, and they're really just a Slack message away, right? So I have dedicated channels with their healthcare team, with my customers, and I'm not saying that's on every one, but they have their team, and John Kohler, they're ready to answer any questions specific to healthcare. So like for example, Epic, and now trying to certify cache database on Nutanix AHV, and really, answering any question and helping the customer in their journey of trying to get everything over there, right? Using files for WebLob from a healthcare perspective. Working with me with Citrix and trying to figure out the tap and go SSO situations. Really just as a partner and a strategic partner at that, helping me, help the customers and really just being there, like I said, just in a Slack channel dedicated to that. The healthcare team is just amazing over there. So obviously I've been working with Citrix for a long time as well, even longer than Nutanix. As Choice Solutions, we've been with Nutanix from the beginning, right? So, when we saw what it could do and we saw how it could help our customers, for us, that's a no-brainer. And for me in particular, you know, being on the design architecture side and the build side, but you know, the design architecture really simplified my stuff to where I didn't have to worry about things like, you know, LUN contention and you know, all these other things, how many data stores and, you know, how many IOPS can we get? The stuff that we used to have to worry about, you know,
It's all gone away.
I don't even have to think about that stuff anymore, right? So it's like, there's items and certain design points that in the critical thinking process I don't have to worry about, right? So
Yeah,
but
you often hear in IT, you know, buzzwords like, you know, reduce complexity or make things simpler,
yeah,
you know, and what I really think that is what people really mean is, how do we take this work out of the system, you know, and that's really kind of how I think. And so how do we make things, you know, when you think about the technologies we mentioned, like Citrix, PBS, and MCS, I mean, that's a good example of how we took a bunch of complexity out of the system, bringing and work out of the system because it's single instance management. Um, or when with Nutanix specifically regarding the storage piece, taking all of that, those variables out of the system that you don't even ever have to think about anymore is really huge, you know. And simple, repeatable, sort of building quality, building performance kind of right into all of the processes, because, you know, here at One World, we have 560 staff now in 16 locations. We're about to be up to 18 locations. I've only got 5 staff on board, and I've got 1 systems administrator. The rest are kind of doing help desk stuff. And so really, I really have to leverage partners such as yourself for real deep expertise on subjects, and then it's myself and my systems administrator trying to design and architect and support, you know, like a level 2, level 3 perspective for the organization, you know. So anything we can do to make it so that a help desk person can do some of the work or gather the info or deploy, you know, whatever it is, the application, you know, the better. And so the combination of leveraging CVAD, they mentioned earlier iGel endpoints. We deploy a ton of iGel endpoints, not only their thin client hardware devices that they supply, but also their universal desktop that converts a Windows machine into a thin client, a Linux thin client. You know, it just makes management and monitoring so much simpler, taking a bunch of headache and work out of the IT system so that user experience is more predictable, deployment is scalable, not only upward but outward as well, you know. And so one thing I did want to kind of mention with regard to some of the technologies that we're using in the Citrix stack, a fairly recent addition is the use of Citrix SD-WAN. And so that's been a couple of year kind of ongoing evolutionary process. It was one of the first projects you guys had ever done with SD-WAN there at Choice Solutions, and shout out to Jeffrey from your networking team, who's been sort of a rock star helping us with that. But we started out using SD-WAN at only a couple of our locations in our data center, and now have scaled it out to nearly every single site. And for those who aren't familiar with SD-WAN, it's a pretty nice new technology that allows you to aggregate multiple internet connections of varying types, whether it's a Metro Ethernet or a business class internet, fiber, MPLS, LTE, 5G, you name it. You can kind of aggregate these links and sort of overlay SD-WAN on top of your existing networking infrastructure and allow your sites to have sort of a full mesh network. And you can even deploy this with connectors up to the cloud if you have certain services in the cloud. And so that's been an interesting project that we've worked on the last few years, just sort of continually fine-tuning it and trying to add value to the business, improve the end user experience, and keep our WAN connectivity costs down, because we just keep growing. There's no room to grow on our main campus anymore, so we're growing outward to new locations, and they, you know, fiber is getting better in terms of costs where we are at in Omaha, but it's still pretty expensive. So anything that we can do to keep those connectivity costs down, you know, is an important thing to me and my team. But we still want to have that decent user experience, and so SD-WAN kind of helps that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll just say last, I mean, from a Nutanix AHV perspective, for their built-in hypervisor, from a Citrix Nutanix partnership, all those components being certified and working properly on AHV has been awesome for me, right? From ADCs to all their appliances to everything, so you don't have to worry about if you're an all-in on the ecosystem with Nutanix with their hypervisor. For me, that makes it greatly simplified again. And just easier to where I don't need to have multiple hypervisors doing that. But yeah, so
yeah, we went all in on the Nutanix ecosystem. I mean, that's it. So looks like maybe we're running out of time here. So I thank you again to Choice, Dana, Scott, and all for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the technology we're using.
Shout out if you're in the Omaha Metro, we got our CUGC coming up for the community. You're in the Omaha in person, August 5th. Over to Dana.
Thank you, guys. Greatly appreciate Steve you sharing and just kind of a journey and you guys' growth. That's remarkable. The efficiencies you guys have accomplished, and I think the technology has played a part in that, and how you've used that to grow from, like you shared, from 200 to 560, and doing so with from 3 staff to 5 staff. So obviously your planning diligence has been very important, but the capacity, the ability to do that, I know the technologies you've chosen have enabled you to do that as well. So thank you for sharing. I know Steve, just being how as a nonprofit and everything that they work on has been financially beyond diligent in making sure, being able to do proper cost justifications, whatnot, for any kind of technology to have an existence in Steve's environment. So the level of diligence, both technology wise, but also financially wise, because they have to be, the grants, the funding, that's to go to patient care. It's not to invest in, technologies that might be shelfware, things like that. And goes back to what Scott was saying about the level of embracement that their environment puts into it. So, but yeah, just thank you everyone for joining. There's, we've had the opportunity, again, some of you guys are existing customers and we're so grateful for that. But when it comes to just helping, these are kind of two pieces. Scott said kind of a peanut butter and jelly, yin and yang. They can go really well together in that mission critical type of foundation to then build upon to scale out that EMR, those apps that your care providers might need, and to do so kind of productively, consistently, and securely, all while kind of simplifying your IT operations. So thank you everybody for joining us. Very grateful for that. And I think we've kind of gone over the time we've allowed for today. So let's say TJ and Christian, thank you so much for joining as well. And if you have any questions, we'd love the opportunity to visit, just one-off or one-on-one to answer any questions you have. So with that, thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.